And for everyone who's listening, this is not planned. This is a panel. This is a group of voices. And you know what? We have so many things to plan for. I just wanted to get us together and talking, and who better than these awesome, awesome leaders. So with that, I am going to make this smaller, and I am showing my screen, right? Yes, I'm showing. Just
Yep.
checking. Awesome.
You
So
can see
I
it.
do want to thank New Jersey Association of School Librarians
Yay.
for
Hooray.
sponsoring this event. Because of you and because of Lisa, who reached out, we now have 200 people in the room, where before we only had 100. And thank you so much, Elissa. I know you're part of that. So please, when you are able to see these wonderful people, give them a hug from all of us.
I will.
They are awesome. So welcome to the panel today. We are talking about advocacy and relevancy, which I think is so important. Now and in the future, and in the past, it's always been that way. Advocating for school librarians, advocating for our programs, advocating for our students, and keeping relevant. Not that I have to prove it to anyone here in the group, and not that we're all preaching to the choir, but how to communicate that with others so they'll listen. So again, thank you for New Jersey Association of School Librarians, and thank you to our wonderful panel here, my good friends who are willing to give up time on a Saturday, and especially Casey. She's giving up a nap that she really needs after all the hard work that she's been doing. So I am just going to step back. I'm going to do some screen shares. If a slide is empty, a slide is empty, and we're just going to talk. If a slide is, whatever, we're just winging this. We're just talking, and you're all friends here. So if you want to tag on to someone, we're going to end the session about 10 minutes of the hour. So I have time to get some water and run to the next session. Okay? So let's go through introductions first. And why is it doing this? Why? I don't want that to happen. Okay, I want it to stop right there. Okay, so we're starting with Casey. Casey, tell everyone who you are and your awesomeness.
Tired, like you said, right about now.
Well, you look great in this photo.
But seriously, my name is Casey Boyd. I am a Chicago-born school librarian of over 23 years of experience, with the majority of my time spent in Chicago, migrating to East St. Louis, Illinois for a 2-year project for my former superintendent. And now I am a Washington, D.C. transplant. I'm starting my 4th year in Washington, D.C. It's been very interesting. You see some of the things that I'm involved with right now, which I'm getting into a lot of trouble, good trouble at that.
Good trouble.
So you want to read a little bit more about me, just go to kcboyd.com, and that's all I'm going to say.
Casey Boyd is kind of an underachiever. She's very boring. She doesn't do much. And if you believe that,
okay.
Yeah, I think
good trouble T-shirts, Casey.
Yes. I think, Casey, thank you. And she, like Sara said, she's got the mic right now. And I love the fact that you're out there, you're talking, and that you're giving up time today, because I know your voice it's getting tired, but fight the good fight. I love it.
Nice.
So next we have Elissa Malespina.
I am way boring compared to Casey. I mean, I just bow to Casey right now. Like I do. I bow to her. I'm Elissa Malespina. I'm a school librarian in Verona High School in New Jersey, and I was past president of ISTE, and I'm one of the ISTE Future Ready Librarian instructors. And if you want to learn more about me, my Twitter is there, my website's there, and in my spare time, I'm running for Board of Ed in my town.
Yes!
Why not?
Yes!
But I think that it's important. Like, we're talking about advocacy. Like, what better way to advocate than to put yourself out there and run for an elected position? So I'm just throwing that out there.
I love that.
South Orange, Maplewood, I'm recording the vote.
That is awesome. And now let's go to Barbara Johnson.
Hi, everybody. My name is Barbara. I am an elementary school librarian in a very small district in the eastern half of Connecticut. I am currently the president of the Connecticut Association of School Librarians, which is the AASL affiliate, as well as SECA, which is the ISTE affiliate in our state. I teach grades 3 through 5. My Twitter handle is there. My library website is there. Please feel free to take whatever you like and use it however you like. And stay in touch, because I really learn from everyone else out there as far as what's going on. So I look forward to staying in touch with everybody.
Barbara is one of those people you can rely on for anything, even events on Long Island she has come to. She's just shown up and I'm like, what are you doing? She's gone to my event before I've gotten there. She's like, I'm waiting. So Barbara, thank you so much. And the fact that you're taking time from your vacation, that just shows how dedicated you are. And I can't thank you enough.
Absolutely.
And we have Sara Kelly Johns.
Hi. I was thinking as I looked at these panelists that almost every one of us has become very involved in advocacy because of something traumatic that happened in our careers. Barbara, I know because I taught her as a student, has one of those minds that just can't shut down. She is interested in everything. So she has no time for trauma in her career. But Casey in Chicago was when your voice got loud. I know it. And Elissa, you know, when you had to start dealing with problems in your district, that's when you got loud. Yeah. I think I was born loud. No, that's not true. Isn't true.
Oh, I was, Sara. I was.
Yeah, you were. But I have, after a traumatic event in my career where we had a great program going and 2 librarians, 1 clerk, for 1,280 kids, all of a sudden there was 1 librarian and 1 clerk, and the other librarian left and got a good job. But you have to do, that's when I got involved with other organizations and started being quite loud. I am committed to advocacy. I consider myself a school librarian advocate, and I really appreciate all of the work that Christina is doing, and I'm very glad to be here today.
Well, thank you. I look at this powerhouse panel and I say, I learn from you every day. I just try to advocate in my own simple ways, but you have all these, you're part of organizations, you're part of these big things, you're running for positions because you know what it's like to advocate. When my kids grow, you know, they're 11, 10, and 8. When they grow up, hopefully I can follow in your footsteps. But I love the work that you're doing. So let's go to the questions today. And so these are just questions that, you know, we could start off with. If we answer them, great. If they go off on tangents, that's fine. We have no agenda. We're not part of anything, you know. New Jersey Association for School Librarians, I'm sure you're going to be happy with whatever you hear. So whatever happens, happens. I'm just putting it out there, everyone, okay? So the 3 questions we have are, how can school librarians continue to maintain, I don't say start, I say continue, to maintain their relevance in an ever-changing world? In what ways can school librarians advocate for their profession and the importance of school library programs to engage the support of administrators, parents, and teachers? And what do you believe is the future for school libraries? And how can school librarians continue to lead? So we're going to go through round robin. We're going to go through each person and hear what they say. And again, if we stop at a question and it takes the whole time, well, then that's the most important question. So, Casey.
Okay, I use this image. This is actually a picture that a former student drew of me. So this is his lasting impression of me before he graduated.
You made an impression.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I must have. Well, you know, I use that as an example of knowledge is power. And it's important that school librarians continue to fuel themselves with that knowledge. And it's not just the knowledge for your practice that you are engaged in every day, but you need to be aware of the decisions that are being made aware of within your district. On average, school districts have a 3 to 5 year plan for you, and you're not brought into the mix until 6 months before it's implemented. And so it's important that we stay abreast of these things. A friend of mine, Ebony Henry, and I have talked a lot during the quarantine, and she's on the executive board for American Library Association. And we often talk about how the quarantine helped fuel our knowledge base. Yes, we were very busy, insanely busy during this time, but we were also given some downtime, because like I got 2 hours back to myself because I have a 2-hour commute, 1 hour going, 1 hour coming back. So I had 2 extra hours to myself. So I attended a lot of Zoom meetings and training so I could expand my knowledge base. And, also too, sometimes as librarians, we are so busy working, our heads are in the sand, we end up missing those key things that are taking place. And we're often, as I said earlier, caught off guard. So by connecting to the needs of our schools, our communities, and the knowledge that we acquire, the way I see it is that it will help us maintain our relevancy. It keeps us updated about best practices and, importantly, new trends in library information science, and also getting ahead of the shenanigans instead of being behind the shenanigans in the district.
I like that word, shenanigans. It's very, very safe, but I know what's behind that word.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, so Elissa.
So I think, geez, there's so much. And I agree with everything, literally like everything Casey said. And I do think, I'm just going to add on to that, really watch the budgets. Watch the budget meetings. Everybody doesn't understand budget meetings. Learn as much as you can about the budgets in your school district. Learn what's going on, learn what's coming up. There are hints throughout the process. In a normal budget cycle, it starts in like January, and they'll start giving you hints like we're in a deficit, we have this, or we got some excess funding. Start watching that. I know it's a little harder right now, especially because COVID has blown things up and budgets are changing right away, but that is something like I know librarians don't always like to do or understand, but you'll get hints just by watching board meetings and budget processes. Okay, but I'm totally switching now to, I believe in order to make us relevant, we have to be future ready. We have to understand what's coming, what it's like, and we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Because guess what? If you are following that future ready framework that Follett and ISTE and all these people have sort of worked together, and AASL, or, we're all sort of involved in some way in this, they have put together a framework that really describes what it's like to be a future ready librarian. What it looks like, there's even a document where you can take like a, evaluation quiz for your own self on where do I fall on this? How am I doing? But if you are doing these things, if you're looking at what does your library look like in the use of space and time, if you're really involved in the curriculum, if you're working on community partnerships, if you're being, collaborative. Oh, somebody asked just now, where can you find the quiz? You can find it on the Future Ready website, the national one. So, and I will put the link somewhere in there. I just saw it, like Shannon had written something about it, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that they had done that yet. But it's really good. And there's framework and out there to help you. This is what you should be advocating for. Like, and your admins don't know the role of the librarian. They have no clue, no idea, like none, okay? And they have no idea what you do. So when you're making your PDPs or whatever, your professional goals for next year, the Future Ready framework already has that for you. take one or two things from that, and it has it for you. And then you are doing stuff that is good for you and not something that somebody tells you they think you should be doing, something that actually will help you to advance. There are lots of good stuff out there. So to me, like, that's how you can advocate, because you're doing all these things in that framework already, in that little, you know, wheel. But you need to just show that you're doing it. And then, you know, admins, they love to hear, oh my God, she's future ready, or she's, you know, or look at, she's doing these things. We need a future ready librarian, but they don't know what it means. So you can show, look, I'm already doing these things. So having that future ready framework, I think, really helps.
I like that because it's an actual document that they can understand, they could evaluate, they could look at data, they could say, it's something tangible.
And it's written by librarians for librarians. And so it's not like it's, you know, something that they've made up, you know, like Charlotte Danielson is made up, okay?
Exactly.
That, you know, where Charlotte thinks she knows what librarians do. And so that's, you know, sort of why I always am promoting this in advocacy, because there's stuff out there for you.
Yeah, and it's already done, and all you have to do is just use it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So now we're going to go to Barbara Johnson. Barbara, what do you think?
Yeah, so I'm just going to absolutely concur and agree with what's been said ahead of me, but I want to encourage everyone to be included in those conversations, not necessarily to be a voice at the table, but to be an ear at the table and just listen and kind of plow the way for what people are going to think are going to be fires. You want to be proactive instead of reactionary. And so I sit at the table, and sometimes I don't get invited because they think I'm going to talk. And I promise, I have to say, please invite me to this meeting, and I promise I won't say a word. I promise. And I just listen. I take some notes like I've been doing here so that I just jot down the most relevant topics, and then I go to work as a librarian, and then I do my research and I communicate solutions. Don't focus on what you can't do. I'm looking at the chat, and people are being cut, and budgets are being removed, and like, let's focus on what we can do. And as a group, this resource that was announced today is everything you can do right now to make a difference. So when your administrator comes to you or the superintendent comes to you and says, oh, we're cutting this, and you're like, fine, this is what we can do. Every year they come to me and they say, I think we might need your para to be able to, you know, meet one-to-one needs in the school. You know what? I'm a team player. If you need to take my para out of my library, absolutely. But here's the list of 800 things I won't be able to do if you take that one person. So let's really think about what the cost is to taking something out of my library. But everything, Elissa and Casey, join your state organization, join a national organization, get involved in the librarians at AASL, get a framework. So it's not just me saying, oh yeah, this is what a good library should look like. This is what it means to be prepared. This is the standards. This is me and two national organizations and all the standards that I'm meeting. Look at what I'm doing. And always, always prepare an annual report at the end of the year. I put everything I do goes in a Google Calendar so that I can just search. When I want to look at how many research blocks I conducted, I search from September 1 to June 15, the word research, and it snaps up. Oh, look, I had 898 research blocks over and above my teaching schedule. And I put that in my annual report so that it's hard data of what's going on in my library. And that's all I can say. That's everything I have.
You know what happens is like that your 5-minute break where you're having a sandwich, that's when the administrator comes in and says, oh, it's so quiet.
Yeah, there's nothing going on here. What's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
That's when they walk in, or that's when a teacher walks in. You're like, but you don't understand my prep that I just gave up. You don't understand what I was just doing. Working with the student here. You don't see all that. You walk in when I'm having like a sandwich. That's and I'm sitting at my desk eating that sandwich because I gave up my prep. But telling them they need to see it.
Yeah, the picture on I just want to explain the picture of the bucket of books on my front wall. So that is March 15th in Connecticut. On March 13th, we sheltered in place. On March 15th, my kids were all home. They started going through their personal libraries, and we did the Johnson Little Free Library. On top of that bucket was wipes and gloves so that kids could take books. I have 8 kids on my street who then didn't have a way to get books. So that's my explanation for a tub of books on my wall.
I have a free library in front of my house too.
I have one too. I love that. But I love that you made do with what you have instead of saying okay, so if you had more time, you could, and I know you could probably make something really nice, Barbara. You're very handy, but you didn't wait. You just said, okay, this is the problem. I'm going to solve it immediately the way I can do it. And I think that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And Sara.
I knew that as the last one on this panel to speak to any of these questions, that there would be a lot of things that people said that I just sat there and said, oh, yes. And that's absolutely true. I think that I use this picture on my slide because I think one of the best ways to be relevant is to be the person that gives some children their only smile of the day, to have that place in their school where libraries are safe havens. It has to happen. Oh wait, we're not going to be in a library this year. A lot of people are cart librarians, but that doesn't mean that you still can't be the person that gives students a smile. As old as I am, I was in a 612 library my whole career, so I watched kids grow up, and I have had so many former students say to me, you were the one person that listened to me. And that made me feel good about myself when I didn't even know who I was. And so, that's got to be your number one thing, because then you start putting everything together that can make that place or that experience, because a lot of times this year it's going to be the experience, the place that students feel safe, that they know that they are going to be able to follow their dreams and their curiosity. You do have to know what keeps your principal up at night. That's an old saying, but it is so true. You do have to know what is happening in that teacher's classroom, what in their curriculum, and what it is that you can offer. Please do not wait to be asked. Barbara goes to those meetings. Most of the time, I hope you do let them know you're going to show up. But eventually you get invited, and they start understanding that, oh, Barbara, what do you have to say about this? How's the library going to support this new initiative, whatever it is this year? And your library has to be a flexible space. Mm-hmm. It has to be a place where students are ready to learn, maybe by moving tables around, maybe by moving chairs around, maybe by having a quiet space over here and a not very quiet space over there. It has to be flexible, and that's true even if that's a virtual library or a book cart. Mm-hmm. Or a book cart. I just really can't say how, and I'm beating you to this, Casey. You must have a collection where students are represented, and where you also can introduce students to worlds they don't know yet.
Yes.
Mm.
I thought, well, she's going to say that anyway, right? And I would rehearse it, but I just got to say it first because you said a lot of other really good stuff.
Well, that's what you
But
get for being last. Now you can get a head start on the first.
yeah, I was taking notes. But I live in Saranac Lake. My entire school career with these 6 through 12 kids were in schools that in northern New York, in the Adirondack Mountains, where everyone, where the, here's white, here's other. And but students need to walk in and find a really interesting title displayed that is about life as a Muslim student in an urban setting.
Yep.
Because they don't have that. Oh, wait a minute. I did have the experience of when one of the Muslim students in our school walked in and saw his Quran displayed. He and we had been kind of friendly before that. He said, "That's mine. That's mine." And this was in Lake Placid, New York, but we had Serbians and who came during the war. And it's if you're in a small community where you don't have a lot of Black students, where's the Kwanzaa books? Where's how to celebrate customs that are not yours? And of course, your own customs are fairly familiar, but you can bring them to another level. You're going to be the inquiry experts. You're going to be the intellectual freedom gurus. You're going to be excuse me, it's even more important for you to know the value of fair use and how it can be used, and to let kids explore, let kids, you keep an eye on what's going on, and you take them to another level, but so often they take you to another level.
Totally agree.
Sarah, that's why you last, because you summed it all up.
You just let her just go.
Exactly.
I only have about 2 pages
icon.
of answers to this question, but I was one of those school librarians. Well, I became a school librarian because being a teacher was too scary, because I had to get up in front of people every day, and I was really introverted. Oh wait, I still am, but nobody knows it. You look over that because it's too important.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
No, I just happen to be an introvert who likes people and stories. But you have to have a brand that people have to know what you stand for, and then you have to live up to it. And it's not about you, it's about your school program, really, in the way. It's so that when you go to another job, because you've been promoted or closer to your home like I did, that program continues because they have expectations and they hire somebody who can do that. So just know who you are, know who your community is, know how you can make a difference. And boy, can you ever. I love that.
Yeah.
If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Really ism.
Or like Barbara Johnson, you build your table and your chairs.
Or bring a big bin.
Literally, she builds tables and chairs.
Wow, that's impressive, Barbara.
I needed something to do this summer. I was a little bored. I had some downtime.
Oh yeah. So we're talking about programs to engage the support of administrators and parents and teachers, and I think we touched on that. I don't know if there's anything that you'd like to add to that, Casey.
Yeah, I would like to add something to that. It's reaching out to people that you normally wouldn't reach out to. Right now, that an example of that for me is working directly with our local teachers union. But I've done this in the past, like in Chicago, but it's here in DC, it's done even at a deeper level. Um, Through the teachers union, I've been able to interface with our school chancellor or superintendent 4 times to advocate for school librarians. Now, he is absolutely positively sick of me, but that's okay, because I just keep coming back with, it's the same message, but it's just brought to him in a different manner. And I'm also demonstrating to him that I'm going to continue to advocate, and I'm going to continue to speak up and talk about school libraries, because one, you do have a number of people that are on your staff and also your principals that have no clue, couldn't catch a clue about what we do and our skill set. And number two is that you just can't just wipe us off with a stroke of a pen and just think that's going to be it. We're not going to go down without a fight. And it's not about the position, it's about the service that we provide. Continuously communicating to them to that notion, because here we've had the highest gains in urban school districts for the last 4 years in test scores in reading. Why would you want to let go of the school librarians? We're very much so a part of that equation. Now, the work is in the classroom, don't get me wrong, but the librarians are also a part of the equation, very much so too. So on another end is that, I will say this, is that how important it is to testify at your school board and your state board of education meetings. And this is a thing where I'm going to kind of go into my Cardi B-isms and say, don't be scared. Do not be scared. Just do it. Write your statements out within that 3 or 4 minute allotted time period that they give you, and just go. And once you start going, you become more accustomed. Then they also recognize, here you come again. You know,
I will tell you, Casey, literally the superintendent knows my name when I walk up to the school board meeting. He's like, you can see it now on Zoom. He's like, and now a question from Elissa Malespina. It's really funny.
They're getting to be that way with me in my district. So, you know, the thing is that they get to know you. They get to know you, but you're educating and re-educating the educators, you know? So yeah, these are other areas. Just go into these spaces that you're not accustomed to going into, and working with people you're not familiar working with. And I want to go back to this union issue, is that a lot of people are like, oh, my union's not going to represent me. Excuse me, but they take a percentage out of your paycheck every 2 weeks. They work for you. And that's what my union president, Elizabeth Davis, says all the time. I work for you. Demand a service off of me.
I agree.
I agree.
And there are things, if you are a union, to build on what Casey's saying, if you are a union member, if you're lucky enough to have a union, there are retaliation things in place that if they try to retaliate against you for speaking up, that there are laws in place to make that so that can't happen. Especially if you're tenured. Non-tenured, it's a little more tricky, but you're tenured, no, there are rules in place to make that happen. And I personally have had to deal with that when I was working in the same school district where I lived in. We had to, you know, deal with that type of thing. So don't worry about that. And I am totally, everything Casey said, totally true. Also, one other little thing that I learned is that school boards are going to expect the librarians to come and talk when librarians are getting cut or something like that. They expect it. So they know, they're like, oh, here comes the librarians. They're going to try to save their jobs. They're going to speak. And that is true. And they should. But the thing is, if you can get other people, community members, government leaders, parents,
kids,
you know, people that they don't expect to hear from, their friends, because remember, these school board members are community members, and they need to get reelected. And if all of a sudden their friends are all like, you know, why are you cutting the librarian? You know, what are you doing? Because she's really close to me. That's when, you know, kids, somebody's writing kids. Those are the people like that you really want to get to advocate for you. So that's why you have to build a good community relationship too. Not only a personal relationship, but you need to let the community know what you're doing on a daily basis, not just in your school.
That's a really good point.
Because when you get cut, that's what you need, is that community support to make it so that they're like, oh no. I mean, and that's as simple as like tweeting something. Like my people would watch my Twitter. And so I always had my superintendent, he would be like, Liz, I don't need to know what's going on in your library. I just look at your Twitter account. And I'm like, good for me.
I get that too.
You know?
I get that too. They don't come and visit me. They just look at my Twitter.
They know what's going on, you know, but we get to handpick what they see. They don't see the kid that like 2 minutes ago was fooling around, you know. I'm not going to put that picture up. I'm going to put the picture of us doing something, you know, fun. But, you know, many times I've had, because like your local news organizations, like we have like, in Verona now we have something called My Verona, which is like a mini local, it's really cute. It's like a mini local like website. Well, I like tweeted something and she like made a whole article about it. And I was like, okay, I've had that happen multiple times. So like, you know, stuff like that where you can get out to more community is good. But I also think we have to always be open. And especially in these time periods, we must always be open. I had one of the biggest things I did, and it was this, you know, like silly. I mean, it's so easy, is I made a Google Voice phone number. Mm-hmm. At the start of the pandemic, I was like, how can my kids reach me the best? I'm just going to make a Google Voice, because they can text me, they can phone me if they want. It's recording all of it. So like my text conversations are all, you know, like all that, you know, everything is safe because it's like it does it. Well, it allowed people to feel like they could always reach out to me because I was always open for them. And I made it so that we have to make sure, especially at this time, that we are open 24/7. So how are you using your website? How are you showing that, you know, how the kids can access the databases? How are you pushing those ebooks and other materials that we already had that we were, you know, to be open 24/7? How are we providing support for kids and students and teachers when they need it? You have to be always there. And if that means that I am answering an email at, you know, I was sitting the other day at the pool on a Saturday and one of my kids was like, Miss Malespina, my computer's not working. I don't know who to go to ask for it to be fixed. So, you know, this is Saturday in the summer, but this kid needs that computer. Well, guess what? I emailed her back. I sent 2 emails. I set it up. The teacher, you know, so that could happen and that kid could get the computer she needed for the rest of the year. But we have to be open for these kids and there for them. So like, I decided during vacation, I was lucky enough that I was one of the teachers that at certain times during this pandemic, during the spring, they allowed us to come into the buildings. So during that time period, I blasted out, like, if you guys want a book, tell me, I will get it for you. So I set up a whole system and kids were coming to the front of the school to get books, but I was also driving them to their houses. And yes, I know technically that's not in our job description. We don't need to do that. But how can we be open and get the resources to the kids when they need them? And if they wanted me to drive them to their house, then I did. And I would always include a few more books in. So like if they asked for the one in the series, guess what? They got all of the books in the series. And I put little stickers in for them and, you know, little notes like I miss you. Just little things to make it so that the kids felt good. And that's what we need to be doing. And now when we're going back to a hybrid, virtual, non-hybrid type of model, you have to continue that. Like I still plan to use, like I adapted, Shannon Miller did this great like book hub thing. I adapted it for our library and made it so that like we, you know, I'm going to be there to let them have choices on how they want to get books and materials.
Awesome. We have about 10 more minutes until I have to jump out to the next one. So we're going to go to Barbara and Sara, but I can already tell, I mean, we have some great ideas. And the fact that you say like all the things that we've learned over these months, I think we've all grown and we've all been flexible and creative, and I think it actually has made us a lot stronger than we were before.
Yeah, I mean, my evaluation, because they had to do like a summative on me, he wrote like, you went to do that for the kids. You didn't have to.
Yep, and people see that.
Yeah.
People see that. So Barbara, what is this table we're looking at?
Yeah, so this is where all the magic happens at the Johnson house. So this is how I'm always open, Elissa. This is my
awesome.
3 computers and my tablet. I brought home one of my 3D printers to start printing masks for the janitors, because right when we went to shelter in place, I got them some masks.
Too here.
It still is one of the most exhausting rooms. When I look at it, it still is very overwhelming. And again, I all summer long, I go in every day. One of those computers is for kids' emails. One of those computers is to connect with my peers in my state organization. One of those is a Google Hangout that's open from 9 to 10 a.m. every morning for staff to come in and just ask me questions. So I do have one of those computers here with me today in my camper. But yeah, I think the best thing you can do is really to advocate for yourself in the community. I tweet out, I'm an oversharer. I don't share faces of kids. You know, we're very careful in keeping the privacy of my kids' work, but like all the amazing things that go on in my library. But I don't just tweet them out to my school community. I tag the Department of Ed every single time. So that the Commissioner of Education, who we know in Connecticut, he's actually called a couple of our librarians when he's seen something on Twitter. We know the Commissioner of Education is watching our state association, and many, many Connecticut librarians were concerned when we went to shelter in place because they felt out of those conversations. Like they were happening obviously digitally now, and they weren't including. So we just tweeted out to our boards of ed and like, hey, this is coming. Hey, you're going to have some copyright issues if you want to do read alouds. Hey, you're going to have some circulation issues because CDC is recommending to quarantine. You know, we have ideas. And so as a state association, we started sharing all of this. We had weekly Google Meets every Monday. In fact, we started them. I got one coming up with all Connecticut librarians and any teachers that wanted to come, because we have districts in Connecticut that have cut the librarians or that are now pushing librarians into classrooms to meet numbers, right? To meet 8 to 10 and socially distanced classrooms. So you've got schools with no librarian, no person curating all of this great information. And so to have a Google Hangout once a week, we take the questions ahead of time, we curate resources, and then we push it out to anyone who wants to come. Anyone who wants to come, you're more than welcome. And we stay in touch. We add you to the email list. And I just think that the more information you can get out of the 4 walls of your library, even if those are 4 digital walls, get it out into social media, get it into the community. Still host community-wide events. Community-wide events are great because now parents and community members and businesses can experience that virtual world that the youngest of our students have to now, and they can empathize with that. And they can say, you know what, this was difficult for me. I can only imagine what a 5-year-old would have to, is going to experience, or the anxiety of family with 3 kids. And so they can help us break down some of those barriers and provide resources to some of our students that need them. And collaborating with the public library. So when my doors are closed, I was able to get them materials because all of a sudden they needed 25 copies of some of our state association or state nominated award books, or they needed a more diverse collection, and I happened to be curating it a little bit earlier than they were. And so I was able to get materials to them, and they were able to check out through my barcode numbers. And so I just think staying relevant and staying connected and just opening up, like there's no this is what's happening in the library in the state of Connecticut. Get it out there and show people. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone and show people the amazing work that's being done, even in my messy dining room, right? So this is my this is my mess, and I show everybody my mess because this is the way my brain works, and you'll be able to show people your mess and the way your brain works.
I think it's a great idea, especially like, the taxpayers who maybe the elderly in our communities or people who don't have children don't have the same experiences that we do as teachers and as parents. And by showing this, they really empathize, or they can get a glimpse into our lives and say, oh, wow, this really does make a difference. The library, the public and the school library both make a difference, and so do our school librarians.
Yep.
I love that. So
I
we
told
are
you that Barbara's mind never stops.
we're going to end with Sara because we only have a few about 10 minutes left before I have to jump out. So Sara, we're going to end with this one. And again, I just put out the questions, and whatever got answered. Basically, you answered everything.
I think we did, and I've got that switch there because I mentioned earlier that I had to overcome being an introvert, and sometimes I even forget I am, but then it comes back to hit me in the face. Flip the switch for advocacy. You need to be visible, and many people have said that. You need to think about what your parents want for your students. What do the parents think is most important, and then figure out a way to do it. I mentioned earlier, what do the administrators want? Never go to administrator and whine. If you've got a problem, and we have problems, go to an administrator with, I have a problem, here is how you can help me solve it. Always have a solution. Always have a solution. I do think that it's important to have a mission statement. I do think it's important to have an advocacy plan that you never stop. One of my friends said once, I get so tired of having to advocate for my job, every new principle, and guess what? You have to do it all the time. So, visible,
I'm just going to ask whoever has that noise to just mute it.
Everyone else, what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah.
Which is fine, 2 credit hours.
My husband walks in on me when I'm on Zoom meetings all the time.
I wondered if she was going to have any extra.
He thinks it's funny. But I have a formula, I'll end with that, a formula for an article I wrote years ago that I still get requests to use it. And my formula is that P plus M equals A, and it's P plus promotion plus marketing. And here's a really good toolkit. Promotion plus marketing equals advocates. And you don't start in a crisis. You do if you have to, but you start all the time. Advocacy, planning for advocacy is part of your job description. And we all are passionate about our jobs.
It's really commendable considering all the problems
they need to be able to know when they run across deep fakes and how to know if something is
might have done better, like in the 529.
We've got the
but on the 529, you see the dollars going out the window. On a pack, you just see a subtraction, and then the difference is what you pay.
Christina, you should be able to mute everybody.
Yeah, I should be able to do that. We're going to be out here in a second anyway. Allison, if you could just hear this, you can mute yourself, please.
There we go.
You'll have the option, staying at what's going over. I guess
sorry.
We'll step back and take a look at it, because Julia's not burning through. Yes, I thought we would.
Yeah, I'm looking for that, but we're going to be hopping out anyway soon, but I'm just looking for that.
Have that elevator speech. You have the best job in the school because you teach with every teacher and you learn with every learner. Because I learn from my students all the time. You say it enough time, they're going to say it back to you.
That's right. That's right. Can I add one thing? Is that I did put in the chat that We're in DC, we're very proud that we have created a document that's based off of the New York City and New Jersey reopening plans, translation of service from face-to-face to virtual. We just completed ours and it's already making a lot of waves in our district. So I placed that document in the chat so others can see it, because we need to have more districts do more.
Oh, New York City has one. New York City has one too. And it's fabulous. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I think right now the best 3 documents are the Washington document, the New York City transition to practice, and the AASL pandemic resources, especially the 9-page version with the graphic and the and all of the resources. And we all need those in our tool belt right now.
So we're going to wrap it up so I can jump into the next session. Are there any final thoughts, a little nugget of wisdom that our panelists would like to share, a call to action, if you will? Casey, what would you like to say?
Don't be afraid, be bold.
I like that.
Yep. Elissa?
I think the word of the day is pivot. We have to be, the year, I think like that is the word of the year, is pivot. You need to be able to pivot. You need to be flexible. If you can't be a full librarian, then be that tech leader in your building and take on those responsibilities. Find a way to be fluid and pivot and be okay.
And on that note, I am going to share that wonderful little...
Yes, I brought that in, but I feel like it needs... I don't know if we can get the audio for it. It doesn't work on Zoom.
Wait a minute.
You guys all know the line. You know the French thing.
I hear this in my voice.
Pivot. Pivot. But yes, I believe that we really this year need to be able to pivot.
Pivot. I love it. Pivot. Barbara?
Take care of yourself. It's going to be a long one. We're in it for the long haul. Please remember, my husband and I ran away to the Cape. We're in our camper. We're staying very self-contained, but it's quiet here, and I just needed a couple of days to unplug. This is me unplugged, by the way. This is me.
I love you for that, Barbara.
Just unplug, because the meetings are already piling up on my calendar for next week. And please remember to take care of yourself, because you can't take care of anybody else unless you are well and you are thoughtful and you're ready to pivot, because we're all going to pivot about 12 times this year. I'm sure of it.
Great. And Sara?
Don't be the problem, be the solution.
Yep.
You have to think about the mental health of your students, the mental health of your teachers, and as Barbara said, your own. So do take care of yourself, and no whining, please. Just be positive, be the answer.
Solutions oriented.
That's right. Thank you so much, my friends, for being on this panel. I just love hearing your voices, especially I can't see you in real time and live, but I get to hug you virtually. So thank you all. I get to hear your voices today. So I was being a little selfish. I wanted to hear you. So thank you again. We're going to jump into our next session. Again, if you want to reach out to any of these really awesome thought leaders, go right ahead. They are always open. They are always pivoting. They are always plugged in, and they're always ready for good trouble. So thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Be well.
Be well. Tweet out to these people. Thank you again, New Jersey Association for School Libraries. Follow these awesome leaders. They won't let you down. They will help you. We can do this together. Thank you.
It's the only way. Bye-bye.